We're at war. It's a regional war. It's a war that is going to have consequences that will impact the American public. The Strait of Hormuz has been closed. This is unprecedented, and it is the beginning of an economic phase of this conflict. This is also a conflict that it appears those who started it didn't understand what they were getting into, and Iran has been fully prepared for this eventuality. The decapitation strike did not decapitate. The Iranian people are not in the streets demanding the overthrow of the government, just the opposite. They're in the streets rallying in support of the government. And the war plan has gone awry from the start. This was a war that the Joint Chiefs of Staff told the president, we don't have the resources to fight and win. They tinkered with the war plan anyways, and they went forward. But when you're trying to accomplish a lot with limited resources, if the war plan goes out of sync up front, which this one has, remember, this mission that we're on is predicated on decapitation. We have lost this war.
In 10 hours. In about 10 to 12 hours.
We lost this war the moment we fired missiles against Iran because we don't have a plan that can be implemented, and we are going to run out of ammunition. This is what the generals told. The admiral that was fired from the Joint Chiefs of Staff told the president, we don't have the resources to do this war. If you do this, we're going to lose. Well, first of all, there's some talk out of the U.S. military that the initial phase of this campaign is a 4-day campaign. Day and night. So if that's the case, what we're going to see is just nonstop sorties flying into Iran to, follow through on regime change, on decapitation, to suppress Iranian security targets, to take out air defense, and to suppress ballistic missile launch capability, but according to the president, also to strike ballistic missile production capacity. There are various facilities near Tehran that appear to be being targeted by the United States and by Israel. And so we're going to be basically seeing, 72 hours of, it's 4 days, 24, 48, 96 hours of strikes. And then there ostensibly would be a pause in which, the United States would be hopeful that the Iranian people would rise up and remove their government power while we rearm, re-equip, and look for new targets. But I think we've got this completely wrong, because it doesn't appear that the Iranians are balking, are hurt, are confused, are stumbling about. They are responding in a very forceful manner, and as you pointed out, they haven't used their best. I think tonight there's some video evidence that they may have fired a couple of their more advanced missiles. We shall see. But the point is, they have very advanced missiles, and these missiles will do extreme harm on the targets that they're aimed at. And Iran, I do believe, will be victorious in this war. The United States is going to run out of ammunition. And when that happens, we will have to withdraw from this conflict, because we have no ability to continue this conflict. And we lose all leverage over Iran at that point in time. Israel is going to be physically defeated in this conflict. This is a war of existential proportions. I don't believe that the United States is going to be able to pick up the phone and have this war stop. I believe Iran has already gotten the upper hand and will continue to apply force effectively against Israel, the United States, and the Gulf Arab states, to the point that when a diplomatic solution is arrived at, and I do believe that Russia and China are going to be pushing for a diplomatic solution, peace will break out, but peace that is acceptable to Iran, which means that for the first time, people are going to have to sit down, shut up, and listen to the Iranians and what they want, and they don't want a nuclear weapon. The Iranians are smart. They've been preparing for this conflict since 2005. Throughout Iran, there's a system of caverns dug into the side of mountains and hills where this material has been evacuated. There are alternative evacuation sites. Israel's talking about hitting what did you say, 500 targets or whatever?
Well,
500 targets was 200 aircraft, 500 targets.
Right.
Operation Lion's Roar.
But the Iranians have created an additional 1,500 targets by dispersing this, and they will continue to disperse. Now we're in an intelligence game where you have to collect intelligence and evaluate intelligence and identify targets, and then put together a target strike package and strike the targets before the enemy actually re-evacuates. The Iranians aren't going to be staying in one place. They're going to be moving. Unless Israel controls the skies for 24 hours, they won't be able to interdict. This is a losing proposition for Israel. Iran was ready for this. And the important thing is that in being prepared for this, they apparently prepared in a way that didn't tip off their preparation to Israel and the United States, because we would not have launched this strike unless we had a high degree of confidence that the targets we were hitting would be in fulfillment of the mission that we put forward. We wouldn't waste all of these extremely high value, very expensive precision munitions in the first wave of the attack just to strike empty buildings, because that, it appears, is what we hit. A bunch of empty buildings with a significant amount of collateral damage for Iranian civilians, but almost zero impact on the target sets that we're trying to eradicate. This is a war of choice. It's not a war of necessity, and therefore it makes it an illegal war of aggression. And I'll just pound this point home all over again, because people hear that term and they roll their eyes. This is what we voted for, they said. You know, I don't really give a damn what you voted for. What I care about is the Constitution of the United States of America, and this war operates in total contravention of the Constitution. If Iran was threatened by Israel, who has nuclear weapons, Iran would be able to reconsider this fatwa and under extraordinary circumstances determine that Iran could have a nuclear weapon. The guy who was making that argument is now the senior Islamic cleric in Iran, you stupid idiots. The man who believes that Iran has a right to have a nuclear bomb is now the guy that interprets the Islamic faith for the Islamic Republic. And the people of Iran are in the streets saying, this is what we want. How stupid can you be? Well, the answer is extraordinarily stupid. And so now we see the reality. This Islamic Republic is not built on the backs of one man. It's built on the back of a constitution that is being applied as we speak. No deviation from the Constitution whatsoever. Things are going exactly the way the Constitution says it must happen, and on the backs of the faithful. And you just empowered the faithful to say, we need nuclear weapons. Now, we're in a very dangerous position, but let's continue down the path of regime change for a second. You see, regime change is a double-edged sword. Donald Trump unsheathed it, along with Israel, and sought to wield it against the Iranians. But it cuts both ways. Donald Trump lost the war on day one, the first 6 bombs that fell on Iran. He lost the war, which means there will be regime change in the United States before there's regime change in Iran. Donald Trump's cult of personality will not survive the midterm elections, because in order to win the midterm elections, Donald Trump needed to deliver a very quick, relatively bloodless war to the American people, one that accomplished what no other American president in 47 years has been able to do. But instead, he's going to go down the path of yet another failed president who's gotten the United States involved in a long, drawn-out war that we won't win. We will lose. We don't know how many lives we will lose, but it'll be devastating. The Iranians will not buckle. There will be no popular uprising in Iran to overthrow the regime. Ali Khamenei is a martyr now, a martyr of the significance of Hussein himself, a martyr that in the eyes of the Shia faithful is the equal to Ali. That's why the last posting on his X account invoked Ali, a symbol of defiance. And so the Shia faithful will rally around Ali Khamenei, a man who was 88 years old at his death?
I think 86, but close.
86. Had disease. His biggest fear was to die a fragile old man. He said he wanted to go out a martyr. People keep saying, why did he stay in his residence knowing what was going to happen? Why did Hussein lead the charge against the unfaithful in the Battle of Karbala? Because he chose martyrdom. He chose martyrdom as a way of exposing the lack of Islamic adherence on the part of the Umayyad caliphs. He chose martyrdom to protect his followers who were seeking to flee from the battle. Ali Khamenei, this frail old man, didn't want to die hiding in a bunker, allowing his legacy to be tarnished by those who diminished him through that action. Ali Khamenei sat down with a circle of fellow martyrs. Everybody at that meeting knew what was going to happen. And they knew that through their sacrifice, they would elevate the cause of the Islamic Republic back into the heart and soul of the Iranian people, and that is manifest today. Ali Khamenei chose martyrdom. We gave it to him because we are truly the stupidest people on the planet. We don't know anything about the people that we seek to engage in combat with. We disrespect their faith. We disrespect everything about them. And what's going to happen has been actually preordained by American admirals. Trump fired the director of the Joint Chiefs of Staff for having the temerity to say, we don't have enough ammunition to finish this job. We're going to start something and we can't finish it. If we don't get this quick revolution in the streets and the Iranians decide to resist, then we will run out of ammunition before they run out of resistance, and then we lose this war. And when we lose this war, the American people will be awoken to the reality that Donald Trump is not the president of peace, but he is a pro-Israeli warmonger that put Israel above American interests, sacrificed the lives of Americans, slaughtered innocent Iranians. These dead school children will become sort of the poster child of the perfidy of the United States, who once again used diplomacy as a means of setting up a surprise attack. We will never be trusted by anybody again, nor should we. But this is the end of Donald Trump. His regime will collapse in the midterm elections, and he will spend the last 2 years of his presidency being impeached. And if this war goes bad enough, maybe being convicted and being hauled out of the White House in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, because that is his faith. Regime change. This is going to be one of the most successful regime change operations in the history of regime change operations, but it is literally a self-inflicted wound by Donald Trump on his own political legacy. Iran's being pounded by the most technologically advanced militaries in the world. The Israeli military, which achieved its technological prominence because of American weaponry, and the United States, which, of course, when you pour in nearly $1 trillion a year, or 1.5 trillion if this budget goes through, you better have advanced weapons. And so we are inflicting death and destruction on Iran as we speak. But Iran is a very large nation, 4 times the size of Iraq, 90 million population, that have now, again, threatening to bomb people to death in a nation that reveres martyrdom is really the dumbest path to take. As you said, Ali Khamenei opted to stay at home and do his business from home together with people who believe the same thing, because they are leaders. They are going to lead by example. And the example for Iran to set right now is their willingness to absorb the damage inflicted by the evil modern day Umayyads, Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, because they believe in the end that they will emerge victorious. So we are blowing things up, but the Iranians are responding, and they're responding in a way that took everybody off guard, because I think most people thought that Iran would respond directly to Israel, and then there would be a sort of an escalation ladder taking place as they started to strike one American base, then another, in an effort to get the United States and Israel to the negotiating table. But Iran literally just went out and hit everything. And even the Trump administration, like, we didn't expect this to happen. They've hit us in a way that nobody's ever hit us before, and they're sustaining that. Yes, we are blowing things up, but if we don't understand that for the last 20 years, Iran has been preparing for this very scenario, that Iran understands better than we do what we do, they will take losses. but they will continue to launch as we're seeing now. And they have prepared stockpiles that are successfully hidden, sequestered, spread out, that they'll be able to draw upon for months. We, on the other hand, will run out of ammunition in weeks. And again, we look at regime change just to look at coming at from a targeting perspective. Again, for the ignorant masses in your chat and everybody else's chat, I used to do this for a living, so shut up and listen. When we prepare a strategic air campaign of this nature, we have objectives that we want to reach. We say that by this period of time, we should achieve this results. Then we move to this, move that, and it's sort of a campaign of sequential events that build up on one another till you get to the culminating moment, which is the collapse of the enemy that you were targeting. We have a finite amount of resources, so we take these resources and we allocate them accordingly. We put them on, for instance, the first phase, the first goal objective, to achieve that, and then we take these resources and reapply them, part of a planned process to achieve the next and the next and the next and the next. But what happens, and it happened in the Gulf War, where, for instance, we had resources, 2 F-15E Strike Eagle squadrons that were applied to one of the primary phase 1 objectives of suppressing Iraqi ballistic missile launch capability in Western Iraq. And we send them out to strike fixed arm launchers and hit mobile launch sites. And according to the plan, we were supposed to have achieved all this on the second day. First day of primary strikes, second day of restrikes, and then we have wiped that target deck off, and we move these squadrons over to their next mission assignments, which await them outside of Basra and outside of Baghdad. But we didn't destroy anything. The missiles kept launching. So we had to keep these F-15E squadrons on target and reinforce them, diverting resources away from the other target decks to go down this route, and it degraded the strategic air campaign. But at that time, we had sufficient resources. We had a lot of airplanes, a lot of bombs. So we just lengthened the strategic air campaign, and we rode out this problem set. Here we have a strategic air campaign that is crippled from the start by insufficient resources. The admiral that was fired said, we don't have enough airplanes and we don't have enough bombs, so we can't do what you want us to do. But the others came in and said, no, we've planned this very carefully. We are going to kill a bunch of people. The first 6 bombs are going to kill Khamenei and 40 people, and that will cascade the collapse of the regime, and then we move to suppression of the security forces, and then we achieve regime change, and we win. And Trump can do his stupid little Trump YMCA moronic dance. So they fired a whole bunch of missiles to achieve regime change. If you heard what we just said, I hope the audience is listening. The regime has not collapsed. It has fallen on the Constitution, and the president of Iran sits at the head of a 3-person succession committee until they elect a new supreme leader. There is the Assembly of Experts, which, by the way, is democratically elected. I want to remind all you haters out there that Iran is probably the most successfully functioning democracy in the Middle East. And they elect the Assembly of Experts, who then, through the will of the people, monitor the supreme leader and will select the new supreme leader. And the regime continues. It's there. It's viable. It is functioning. We failed in regime change. So all of those resources that we used up on day 1 are gone. And now we have to reallocate resources to continue hunting down the regime. And so we have already put ourselves behind the 8 ball, and we're chasing something that we'll never catch up to because we don't have time. We don't have time because we don't have the resources. We don't have the ammunition. We're burning through our ammunition at rates that we'll never be able to replenish. And it's not just what we're doing against Iran, what Iran is doing against us. By continuing to fly these attacks, they are sucking up resources. Over 1,000 Iranian missiles were launched on day 1. The average expenditure rate for the air defense is 3 to 4 missiles per missile. That means that we have burned through 3,000 to 4,000 interceptor missiles, and the missiles are still flying. The Iranians have planned a campaign that will last months. We have the ability to sustain this for maybe another week, and then we run out of missiles. We got nothing left, nothing. And just again, for all you genius geopolitical analysts out there, when I say nothing, that means we have nothing in the Pacific. What would happen if China decided they wanted to take Taiwan right about now? We got nothing. All our cruise missiles are being chewed up. All our interceptor missiles are gone. What would happen? I mean, Russia's not going to do it, but if Russia wanted to make a move on Europe, we got nothing. Nothing. This is the stupidity of this. We gambled everything to achieve what? To make Israel happy. The Iranians had agreed to, there's a wonderful post on X written by one of the diplomatic advisors to the ruler of Oman, who was managing this negotiation. And he talks about what had been accomplished. And he said that the deal that was agreed to by the Iranians got rid of their nuclear enrichment program and everything but name only. Meaning that if you wanted to ensure that Iran would never have a nuclear weapon, this was the deal. This would have been Donald Trump's great peacemaking diplomatic victory. Peace through strength. Threaten an attack. Get the Iranians at the table and get them under pressure to agree to something so fundamental that you could stand up legitimately and say, there will never be an Iranian nuclear, because there are no sunset clauses in this, unlike the JCPOA, which aged out. This one is permanent forever. And the Iranians had agreed to it. It was in writing. They were moving to a signing ceremony. This guy talks about how he ordered 12 Mont Blanc Meisterstück pins for the signing ceremony at $620 each. But we weren't serious about the nuclear program. We're using it as a subterfuge to do the Israeli-pleasing regime change operation, which has now failed. But it not only failed in terms of failing to get rid of the regime, but that nuclear program could very well become active. I want to ask all the morons in your chat, what is the status of the 60% enriched uranium that we failed to destroy in Donald Trump's first attack against Iran? We didn't know where it is. We don't know where it is. Do you think we're getting it today? And if we don't get it, do you think Iran may have, over the period of time, sequestered away enough final manufacturing capacity to convert that into at least 5 or 10 nuclear bombs the size of Hiroshima? But you don't know, do you? Because you're stupid. You're as stupid as the president is. I'm sorry, Danny, I shouldn't be insulting your audience or any audience, but I'm so fed up because it is because of the ignorance of people like this that the president believes he has legitimacy to do what he's doing. We have stupid people out there that don't think through the problem, who are ignorant of the problem. And, I'm just fed up with them because, we are looking at a world that's going to hell. The defeat of America, as pleasing as it may be to, the pro-Iranian community out there, if you're an American patriot, you can't want this. You cannot be seeking this. If you're somebody like me who actually took the oath, swore allegiance, put on the uniform, and went to war for my country, you can't celebrate anything that results in the death of the men and women who put on that uniform. And yet they're dying. The Defense Department, I call it the Defense Department. Legally, that's what it is. It's not a War Department. That title doesn't exist under law. But the Defense Department has acknowledged at least the deaths of at least 3 American servicemen, they said, in combat operations against Iran. We don't know if they died on the ground in Iran because there's ongoing raids taking place that's outside the scope of what most people are talking about. Special operation forces are on the ground. I think there was an attempt to raid one of those underground missile cities that didn't go well, and we had to withdraw. So there's this activity. We can say, like I do, that I don't want the Iranian regime to collapse, but I will never cheerlead in favor of the death of any American at all, ever. And yet that's the situation we're in right now, where Americans are dying. And then again, how can you cheerlead for what America is doing? Because one of the first missiles that struck Iran hit a secondary school, and over 100 children, schoolgirls, ages between 6 and 12, are dead. Imagine being a mother who sent their children to school that morning because you believed there would be peace because the United States was engaged in a legitimate negotiation. Marco Rubio announced he was traveling to Israel on Monday, and therefore, of course, there can't be a war if Marco Rubio is traveling. So in good consciousness, he said, I'm sending my children to school so they can become educated, have a brighter future. And you send them to school only to have an Israeli missile hit that school and kill virtually everybody inside that school. You can't celebrate this. You can't celebrate any aspect of this. And yet here we are because of the stupidity of a president who is guided by the stupidity of his political faithful, who are as ignorant as the day is long about the world we live in.